This is Heavy Conversation with Bruce and Jody, a podcast where we talk about being a big guy in today's world. I'm Bruce. And I'm Jody. Here we go.
Here we go.
All right, we go. All right, here we go.
So today we're talking about something that's kind of serious, dealing with fat hate, both on the internet and in real life.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, especially when you're a bigger person, things like this are things that you deal with on, maybe not a regular basis, but they're things that you run into. And I know when you're younger, they can be real issues. And
they happen, sometimes, every day, sometimes not for a long time. And all of a sudden it'll rear its ugly head again. And you're like, wait, oh, that's right. I'm a big guy. I kind of forgot about it for a while,
Right.
Yeah. It can be tough sometimes, but I think it's kind of given me, like a thicker skin almost. Like I think, and I'm not even that big of a guy, but sometimes you get it, in new social situations, you get, you're like apprehensive to go into those new situations because you are the big guy and you're gonna, you're like, oh, these are all just a bunch of skinny people. You just go to like some new meeting or some new club or some whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just like apprehensive for a minute.
You kind of learn to be prepared because you don't know what people are going to think. You don't know if they're going to make fun of you, if they're going to, if they're going to say things, any of that. It sucks. Mm-hmm. And, for some people, that doesn't end. That continues into adulthood. And, when you are in a culture that doesn't value bigger people, those are things that you run into. I thought maybe we could kind of talk about, since we both have businesses on the internet.
Yes.
You definitely run into some of that. I know, for me with Chubster, we do get some of that. It's not nearly as bad as other people get. Yeah. I think especially people who are fat activists, who are out there really pushing body positivity.
They're really out there, screaming at the top of their lungs for more bigger people and
for more rights to be accepted. A lot of different things that activists are really talking about out there. How everybody should be treated the same. A lot of those things. They get a lot of trolls. There are a lot of people who really want to push back against that. And the internet gives people that armor to be trolls and to be anonymous, and it sucks.
At Bearskin, we don't get a lot of every once in a while when we first started, there were some of that ew, gross.
Sure.
Why are you posting this on my page?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah kind of stuff. But I think our community in itself has sort of self-moderated that stuff, which was really nice to see.
Yes.
They're like, why do you like the page, or why are you here?
Yeah.
If this isn't what you're after,
That's part of growing a community. I've noticed that as well with Chubsters, that when those things do come up, people will self-regulate. I have no problem with deleting people if they are being asses. Yeah. So, I definitely do that, but it doesn't happen a ton. Mm-hmm. When it does happen, they self-regulate, or it's just, it's something that, I can normally deal with pretty quickly and pretty easily. I don't know, I honestly don't know why it is. I have theories.
Okay.
So my theories as to why, maybe we get less of those kind of trolls and that kind of pushback than other, people out there. For one, I think that when you are dealing with something that's masculine or men focused, maybe there's less of that.
Yeah. I think there is a little bit less scrutiny on men's bodies as opposed to, feminine female bodies.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it's still there, but it's not quite as
Even
prevalent.
the plus size women's bloggers, I think, get a lot of that. There are some that just get trolled constantly, or have to deal with things that the guys out there doing these things don't have to deal with in the same kind of way.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I want to, you know, call them out and say, you know, keep doing what you're doing. We love what you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's needed. You know, don't listen to those guys or those trolls or whoever.
Yeah, and for some of them, it gives them energy to keep going. There are some people who just like tear them down and destroy them, and they're really good at that. Virgie Tovar is one that comes to mind. She just blows them out of the water. She doesn't take any shit.
That's good. And you shouldn't.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, you're trying to empower yourself and give yourself some sort of energy and some motion behind, you know, whatever your passion is.
Right.
You can't listen to the haters.
You can't. And that's
because there's always going to be haters or people that are trying to push you down.
Right.
To get them, you know, to boost themselves up. And, you know, you just got to keep trucking on.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when I notice more trolls and more negative comments and things on Chubster or on the internet in general around Chubster is when I do mainstream press. Anytime I've done any kind of mainstream press, I did a radio interview for the BBC, and I was very happy about it until I saw the comments, and there were a bunch of people
on
who were
on the BBC
on their website for the actual you know, replay of the and you know, anytime you do anything like that, where you're reaching out to the mainstream, you're reaching people who aren't in your community. So my thought with that is don't read the comments. No. And this is a rule of thumb that I think everybody should.
Don't read your comments. Yeah, I have to do it just to regulate our own, but
if it bothers you, don't read the comments, or have somebody else deal with that for you.
Have someone else moderate, because sometimes it makes it harder to keep going. Because even when we started this podcast, I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to read what people are saying. I don't want to listen to it.
Right.
But then after a little bit, I'm like, whatever. I like doing this. I'm not going to.
And I think that's always kind of the thing. And that's what I try to keep in mind, is that it's easy to get caught up in what's happening on the internet and what people are saying. But it's a lot more valuable to just do the thing that you want to do and put that thing out there and not focus on what people are saying. Yeah. I'm not saying don't take criticism and don't.
But there's a difference between like troll hate kind of stuff and like constructive criticism.
Right.
Like there's a complete different kind of thing for that.
Absolutely.
But also I think my partner, I don't know where he read this, but he talks about your darlings, like this podcast is one of my darlings, and Bearskin is one of them. Like, you have to have a lot of different things that you're doing so that all of your energy isn't focused on just maybe one thing.
Sure.
So that if there are haters coming at you from that thing, well, but this other thing is really helping me, you know, lifting me up as well. So, because I used to really hate when people would criticize our underwear or had some comment about them, and it would really, really hurt.
Sure.
Because I'm like, this is something that I've been working really hard on, and they're like, oh, this is, you know, whatever they had to say.
Right. Have you ever found, like, addressed those comments with the person directly and seen kind of a change when they realize that you're a human being?
Yeah. Well, for some of them, yeah.
Sure.
Some of them, you know, it's
some people you're not going to reach.
Yeah, we're not this big, huge corporation. Right. It's just two guys trying to, you know, provide this underwear for people that are in the same sort of situation that we're in.
Right.
But sometimes it's still like they think we're some big, huge company, bigger than what we actually are.
Right.
So they're like, oh, no one actually reads these. I'm just going to
say whatever I want.
Hate email thing or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is sometimes when people say things, I'm able to reach out to them and talk to them and kind of see where that's coming from. It doesn't work in every case.
What is the underlying thing or issue?
Right.
It probably actually has nothing to do with us or my thing.
Right.
Or, you know, sometimes people have an off day and they vent on your Twitter page or whatever. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Right.
Like, I need more information. What's going on here?
Right. Right. Know? Yeah. And sometimes you can talk to a person and they will, you can get to the bottom of that and you can kind of figure it out. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't. So, and it just like, you dig that hole deeper and you're like, okay, I'm done with that.
Right.
I've had that happen as well. You know, you're like, try to figure out what, like, okay, what's going on? And then it's just like, Oh boy. Okay.
Right. You kind of do what you can, and you just hope for the best.
Delete, block, whatever.
Yeah. Right. You can't have that in your community and let that infect everybody else, because the thing that I look at, especially when you reach a new audience. So if you're doing any kind of press or somebody picks you up and sees what you're doing, I feel like you're always going to get those people who are going to say something, good and bad, mostly bad. Mm-hmm. But you're also getting a bunch of other people who will never comment on anything, but are going to see what you have to offer, and they're going to buy your product, or they're going to read your article. Those are the people that you want in your community. Yeah. And that's, for me, that's why I keep doing it, because I know that I'm reaching those people.
Reaching out to the broader audience.
Right.
Yeah. You can't just be in your own echo chamber.
Right. And it's really important to continue to grow like that, and to come back and push back on those kind of things, and with the internet, it's the internet. You're going to get that. As long as people can be anonymous, as long as people can be assholes, they're going to be assholes. So that is something that you have to deal with. And, when you're part of a community, you deal with it less. You can find other like-minded people.
Yeah.
Right.
Your support channels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reach out to other people in your same community, and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with.
Right.
And they'll be like, oh yeah, the same things are happening to me, and this is what I do. Whatever. I even have printed out some of the good comments that I've gotten that we've received either through Bearskin, or a couple of the things from our listeners here on Heavy Conversation. Just the positive things that they're like, oh my God, I love listening to you guys, or I can't believe how amazing your underwear is. Like, right. I have printed those off like daily affirmations almost to look at.
They give you energy.
Yeah,
they keep
they're
it going.
This is why I'm doing this.
Right.
And I have to remember that sometimes, that there are these people that are in love with what we're doing.
And it makes a difference for people.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, you figure that most people in the world are not in this community on a daily basis. Yeah. So they're not seeing kind of the way that we see it. They're living their lives, and this is a very small part of it.
A little bit of their life is listening to us talk about.
And they're getting something from that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're doing something.
Well, I need to have a little bit of something. Is this Elysian?
Elysian?
I don't know.
Someone will correct us.
Yeah. Anyone? Elysian. Night Owl Pumpkin Ale.
Elysian. Okay. All right.
It's
pumpkin
fall
ale.
season.
I like that.
I like pumpkin stuff.
I'd like to try a beer.
The PSLs, but
I would like to try a beer that tastes like actual pumpkin. Is like the.
Well, did you know that most of the pumpkin flavor is actually squash?
Is it really?
Yeah, because
I thought it was like nutmeg and.
Well, there's that stuff in it too, but like those PSL, the pumpkin spice lattes, it's not actual pumpkin.
Yeah,
it's squash. Yeah,
because smells great.
Yeah, I like this.
Let's see. It's not so dark that you can't see through it.
No,
so
it's just like almost looks like a
my first observation.
Normal ale. Original pumpkin ale brewed with pumpkin, roasted and raw pumpkin seeds, and spiced in conditioning with nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, ginger, and allspice.
There we go. All the big ones. I just want one that tastes like squash.
Squish.
Just horrifying liquid squash. Yep. This is
a puree of.
Yes.
Oh wow!
It's good. It's not too heavy, but it tastes like pumpkin pie.
Yeah, it's got like a pumpkin pie sort of. I want to put like whipped cream on this. And
yes. I was going to say heat it up, but that would be super gross.
Yeah, no. Or like a apple, like a cider kind of.
Yeah.
Not like a whatever.
It does. It's like this. I would take this in lieu of pumpkin pie itself.
Yeah, you're not a pumpkin pie fan.
Yeah, I'm so on it. Yeah. Whatever. It's
weird.
Yeah.
I do like this though. I don't know the roasted and raw pumpkin seeds. I like roasted pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
But I can't tell. But it's good.
I would recommend this.
Yeah.
This is one of those where
it's a lighter one. It's not a real heavy, overwhelming, like pumpkin to the face.
I think for me, I can only do so many pumpkin beers per season.
I like all
by
of
so
them.
many, I mean like 2.
I like all of them.
Yeah. And
I
then,
like to do I like to change over with the seasons. I'm like, ooh, pumpkin. I want to try all the pumpkin ones.
seasonal beer tastings are fun to do.
Yeah.
For sure. We may have to do one of those, like, as maybe a mini episode or something where we just get a bunch
There's
of
lots of
different
fun
ones
breweries around here.
give
We
our
could
bad reviews of beers.
and see what kind of crazy names they come up with. That's what I always like.
Yes. Very inventive. Very inventive.
Excuse me, everyone.
I know we're finally getting over these.
Yeah, I think we're almost done.
Yeah.
Knock
Yes.
on wood.
Yes.
With all our cold and flu season.
Right. So, we've talked about what this kind of stuff is like to deal with online, but in the real world, there are people who are dealing with it every day.
Yeah.
And it's not just a thing that, when you're younger that you necessarily deal with. There's some people who, they leave their house and they have to prepare to be looked at differently. Or be spoken to differently or, dealt with in a different way when they are, they go to a store or, those kind of things. I know for me with my experiences with this, it was definitely something that was more prevalent when I was younger. Kids are bullies and annoying and, all of that. So as I got older, it wasn't something that I dealt with for a long time. And I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
And then when I was, I'm 38. So when I was, I'm going to say 34.
Yeah.
I went to, excuse me, I had a business trip that took me to the San Francisco Bay Area, and I went to a restaurant, ate at this restaurant. I was leaving and I was walking back to my, hotel, and I had a couple younger guys like start walking along with me, and they were just like, talking about my size, just talking about,
but not to you, like just loud enough for you to hear
like
it.
kind of walking, walking kind of behind me and all that. And it was weird. Like after decades of not running into that, like how do you deal with that? And I know that there are some people who have it down and they know how to deal with that and everything. And I just like kind of ignored it. I mean, but it was a weird, horrible experience.
Yeah, like flashback.
Yeah. And you're like, what do you do? I mean, I'm 34 years old, should be able to deal with this in some way. But I did basically nothing. Went back to my hotel and was done,
Well, sometimes it's not even worth confronting a group of, people like that.
Right.
But, I mean, I honestly haven't experienced that quite as much.
Sure.
When I was younger I did, but I really don't. And if I do, it doesn't even really register that much anymore.
Right.
It just, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, I can't even think of a time recently that or if it does, I have brushed it off.
Sure.
Or just.
Those things, I think, as you get older, you get a thicker skin. They matter less. And as people get older, they kind of grow out of that. And they also, the people who would throw those things on you, mostly, not always, they kind of grow out of that. But they also, there are different types of fat hate. And it's a quieter, more secretive,
subtle,
subtle kind of thing. So, it definitely changes with time and with age, but it's still there. I think you can see it in everything from being out on the street and seeing how people look at you to walking into a store and knowing that they're not going to have anything in your size.
I have had the weird look
where they're like,
when you go
God,
into some fancy store,
here we go again,
and you're like, oh, what's the largest size you go up to? And they're like,
that'd be a small, sir.
We
get out of our store.
A medium.
Right.
I love this mediums.
Medium.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I mean, as far as dealing with it, I don't know. It's it is definitely something that in the real world nobody should have to deal with. I think having a support system, being able to, depending on the situation, being able to report people and do something about that and hold people responsible.
Hold them accountable.
Accountable for those things is important, but it's hard. It's hard, and you don't always have that opportunity. Some people are able to call them out on social media. I know there was someone flying on a plane who.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Had a guy who was like texting and joking and doing a whole lot of like negative kind of shit talking over text, and she saw it and called him out on it, and got photos and got a video of the whole thing, and kind of shamed him for being an ass.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's sometimes what needs to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not saying go out and do that vigilante style in a situation that's not safe or uncomfortable. Definitely don't
go looking for it.
Yeah, the first thing you want to do is get out of a situation like that if it's
but yeah, she wasn't really able to get out of that. She was on a flight, But yeah, if there's situations like that, document it, do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go back and forth about that, like calling people out.
Right.
Sometimes it goes a little too far, but
yeah, it can, and that is something that we should definitely
hate going back on them. It's just like a karma thing. Like
right. It is something that we should talk about, some other time, just about, taking it to that level, or, calling people out, or kind of some of the issues within the community, because there are definitely some things there that, that need to be addressed, that, I can see both sides on. I think, we've talked about this stuff before.
Yeah, I think it's okay to express to them that what they're doing is not okay, but like getting them fired from their job or harassing them, that kind of stuff, I don't think is necessary. But showing them that what they're doing is wrong, and that, that kind of stuff I think is fine.
It's it's like such a case by case basis, and depending on what they're doing and what's happened and all that, it's just, either way, it sucks.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's something that if you're listening, you're not having to deal with that on a daily basis. And if you are, I'm sorry that, hopefully, that there are communities of people out there, and there are other people out there who have dealt with those kind of things, and who who you can talk to about that.
Yeah,
and hopefully that helps.
Talking about it.
Absolutely.
So let us know how you're dealing with your trolls, if you have them, and maybe we can give you some advice, or maybe we can even just be a shoulder or a comment that you can lean on to let us know what's going on with you.
Right.
We're always a support system for anyone that needs it. You can email us or
absolutely
message us, and we'll listen to you. We're always here for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we kind of talked a little bit about our trolls.
I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah, even that is a good thing to do, to talk about it.
It's the beginning of a conversation, and it's obviously an ongoing conversation, and something that needs to be dealt with, because, we're seeing bullying and trolling from the top down, from the highest levels of office down to
top down.
Yeah.
It trickles down, as they say.
Right. We don't, we not having a great role model there doesn't help things.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure and share this episode with someone that you think would benefit from listening to it.
Please.
Tweet at us. Let us know how you're dealing with your trolls, like I said, your haters, what you do in those situations. We'd love to hear from you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Heavy Conversation. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.